Blancos. So today we're going to be talking about Griselda Blanco, aka La Madrina, the Godmother, the Black Widow, Cocaine Cowgirl, Queen Pin, the Cocaine Godmother. So I know you guys are like, who is Griselda Blanco? Just kidding. I'm sure like many of you guys might know, probably do know. And if you don't think that you do know about her, you probably do know about her, or you've heard about her. If you think you don't know about her, you probably have heard about her. And I say that because she's like, I guess you could say, she's an icon. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Because she did a lot. She showed the whole drug empire that females can and they will do anything, basically. Not like anything, but like anything that a male would do, a female would do. And Griselda made sure you knew that. Dead ass. So Griselda Blanco, she was born on February 15, 1943 in Cartagena, Colombia. She was born in Colombia and she moved with her mother later to Medellin, Colombia, is where her life of crime started. So from things that I was reading, it was said that her mom was a prostitute, and so that's why they moved to Medellin. She grew up in kind of like an abusive area because her mother was a prostitute, and it was said that some of her clients abused her. So she would often be hurt by her mother's clients, and she would also be sexually assaulted by them. So, like her childhood friend, which I don't really know if they were friends or anything like that, but something that I read online said that they both grew up during La Violencia, which that means the violence, Colombia's vicious civil war. So that's when they were like there, and they grew up during that time. So she didn't waste any time breaking into the murder business. Why do I say she didn't waste any time into doing that? Let me tell you like a legend or something like that. Okay, so as legend has it, at age 11, she kidnapped a young boy for ransom from a wealthy family. When his parents failed to pay the ransom, she just killed him because she was like, this didn't work. So that's what I mean when she got like into her murderous crime life pretty fast. While she was still a teenager, she got married. She married a small-time criminal. So her first husband, his name was Carlos Trujillo. Together, they had 3 sons. Her 3 sons' names were Dixon, Uber, and Osvaldo. So all of them were poorly educated, and all of them were killed in Colombia. They were killed after they were deported from prison sentences in the United States. So they got married, they had 3 kids, but then they did get a divorce. So Blanco was believed to have ordered his murders several years later. So now moving on to her second husband. In the early 1970s, she began a relationship with Alberto Bravo. Oh my goodness. I say oh my goodness because my last name is also Bravo. Anyways, moving on. He was a drug trafficker whom she ultimately married. It was through him that she became involved in the cocaine trade. So the both of them began bringing in the drugs into the United States. So how did they do that? Thank you for asking. How did they start smuggling drugs into the United States? Well, thanks to Blanco's very creative mind, she started a lingerie business. And what she did is she would have people smuggle them into the United States by having secret compartments in her lingerie, and they would just put coke in there. Yes. And that is how they created an extensive and highly profitable drug trade operation, whatever you want to call it. So you know what that reminds me of? That reminds me of the Wolf of Wall Street, that clip where they're like trying to get this woman to smuggle the money. But that was money, wasn't it? That wasn't drugs. It's a little different. So she had moved to the United States for her, I think it was New York City where they first moved to, where she first moved to like get her operation running and really like bringing in money. Well, once that had happened, the DEA, the cops discovered what was happening. They ended up like finding out who it was because she was facing drug charges like around 1975. But also, because she was facing these drug charges, that's why she went back to Colombia. So now her second husband, Alberto, Griselda was confronted by Alberto, who was also her business partner, her husband and her business partner, in a Bogota nightclub parking lot. So Blanco went up to him, confronted him because millions of dollars were missing from the profits of their cartel. So I'm back. So like I really messed up on my eyeshadow and so moving on. So at this time she was 32 years old. She pulled out a pistol and Alberto responded by having his Uzi. They had a blazing gun battle. Him and 6 bodyguards were dead. She suffered only a minor gunshot wound to the stomach. She's a badass, apparently. So soon she recovered, and then once she recovered, she moved on to Miami, where her body count go up. Not the body count you think I'm talking about, but the body count that we don't speak of. She literally killed her second husband, Alberto Bravo. That's why she has the nickname, well, it is said that's why she has the nickname Black Widow, which I mean makes sense. I don't know how else you would get that nickname, so I assume it's correct. And then she reportedly later had her third husband killed as well. Griselda Blanco married 3 times. She was a teenager when she married her first husband, and she split with her last husband in 1983. Her second husband, Alberto Bravo, was the one that introduced her to the cocaine trade, like we had said in the beginning. And she was called the Black Widow because she reportedly killed or ordered the death of each of her husbands. So Griselda had her youngest son, Michael Corleone Blanco, with her third husband, with Dario Sepulveda. I think that's how you say it. Dario left her in 1983. He returned to Colombia. He kidnapped Michael whenever him and Griselda argued over who was gonna take custody. So he was like, bet, let me just take him, like shit. So that's when Blanco paid to have Dario assassinated in Colombia. And then her son was returned to her in Miami. According to the Miami New Times, Michael's father and older siblings were all killed before he reached adulthood. His mom was in prison for most of his childhood and teenage years, and he was raised by his maternal grandmother, and they were his legal guardians. So in 2002, Michael was put into house arrest after a May arrest on 2 felony counts of cocaine trafficking. Michael appeared on a 2018 episode of the investigation Discovery documentary series Evil Lives Here to recount his lonely childhood. In 2019, he was featured in the VH1 docuseries Cartel Crew, which follows the descendants of drug lords. He also runs a clothing brand called Puro Blanco that refers to his infamous mother. Good for him, you know. I wanted to tell y'all a little bit about Michael and just like her son. Now returning back to Griselda Blanco and all that she did. So by the mid-1970s, she'd established herself in Queens, New York as a significant smuggler. So she was allegedly behind the 1976 scheme to transport at least 6 kilos of cocaine to Miami abroad. The tall ship Gloria, sent by the Colombian government to commemorate America's bicentennial in a race to New York Harbor. In 1975, Blanco was among the descendants in the first major federal cocaine trafficking indictment. So shortly thereafter, as a fugitive, she fled to Colombia before she could be arrested, but she returned to the United States, settling in Miami in the late 1970s. So she went to Colombia before she could be arrested, like we had said. And then, you know, that's when all that stuff happened with her second husband, Alberto. Well, then, like a little bit later on, she came back to the United States and she settled in Miami in the late 1970s. So once she fled to Miami, her business exploded and she reportedly became a cocaine billionaire. What? Yeah, she really did that. So Blanco was behind public assassinations in broad daylight at busy shopping malls. Blanco's return to the US from Colombia, it more or less coincided with the beginning of very public violent conflicts that involved hundreds of murders and killings yearly, which were associated with the high crime epidemic. So law enforcement struggled to put an end to the influx of cocaine that's coming into Miami. That led to the creation of TIK 26, which was Central Tactical Unit, which was a joint operation between the Miami-Dade Police and DEA anti-drug. During this time, I'm just giving y'all like a little bit of facts of what's happened because of Griselda coming to Miami and her whole business here, like what was going on in Miami and the United States. During this time, 25% of corpses in the morgue had wounds from automatic gunfire, and there were so many bodies that the medical examiner was forced to rent a refrigerated van from a Miami-based Burger King to house the overflow of the bodies. That's very crazy. By the late 1970s, Colombia was producing 3/4 of the world's cocaine supply, and one of the top traffickers was Griselda Blanco. Blanco was involved in the drug-related violence known as the Miami Drug War or the Cocaine Cowboy Wars, which I don't know if y'all heard about that, maybe because they made some movies about it. That's what plagued Miami in the 1970s and early 1980s. During these times, that was a time that cocaine was trafficked more than marijuana. Her distribution network, which spanned the United States, it brought in 80 million per month. Per month, bro. That shit's wild. Following the bloody cocaine wars in Miami in 1984, Blanco's willingness to use violence against her Miami competitors or anyone else who displeased her, it led her rivals to make repeated attempts to assassinate her. So her attempt to escape those hits was that she fled to California. So since she was having people coming after her to assassinate her, she fled to California. And California was where she was finally arrested by DEA agent Bob Balumbo. He had been chasing her for 10 years. So she was arrested and taken to New York to face the 1975 charges. So I'm back. I went ahead and did like the rest of my eyes. So she was found guilty in 1985. She received the maximum sentence of 15 years in prison, though she reportedly continued to run her empire while she was incarcerated. By the time she was indicted, according to the FBI, she was in charge of approximately 200 more murders in South Florida. She served her federal drug sentence in Dublin, California, while Miami-Dade Sergeant Al Singleton and his untouchable TIK 26 team raced against time to build capital murder, a case against her. So they were trying to build a murder case against her while she was in prison so that she could be in there longer, because that's what they felt she deserved. So while they were trying to build a case against her, she was making an escape plan to escape the prison because she didn't want to be there. The fuck? So Blanco had supposedly had hatched an escape plot involving hired henchmen kidnapping JFK Jr. in Manhattan and holding him hostage in exchange for her release. So she was like going big, obviously. She wanted to kidnap JFK Jr. and for them to get him back, she would be released from prison. That'd be crazy. In 1994, before she could act on her master plan, Singleton met Blanco at FCI Dublin with a small motorcade. She must have assumed that they were the INS because it wasn't until they were in the car that she asked where they were headed. The officers explained they were extraditing. They explained that they were extraditing her to Miami-Dade County, where she'd been indicted for 3 first-degree murders, each charge carrying a possible death sentence. So when she was told that, she vomited in the car. Lucky for her, the same person that snitched on her is the same person that fucked up the whole plan. 1994, after one of her hitmen, Jorge Ayala, agreed to testify against her, Blanco was charged with 3 murders, including the fatal shooting of a former enforcer's 2-year-old son. So the son was killed in a failed attempt at his father's life. Prosecutors were seeking the death penalty, but Ayala's credibility was undermined because it was revealed that he had been having phone sex with secretaries in the prosecuting attorney's office. What? So you can imagine the whole scandal there. So Rivy, who is currently serving 3 consecutive life sentences in a Florida prison, was implicated in a phone sex scandal that so humiliated prosecutor Catherine Fernandez that she chose to plea bargain with Griselda in order to avoid further embarrassment. In 1998, Blanco pled out to 3 second-degree murder charges and received a 20-year sentence. So while she was in prison during that time, 3 of her 4 sons were murdered in Colombia. So those are the first 3 sons that I told you about in the beginning that were murdered. They were murdered while she was in prison. So that's sad. By 2004, she was a free woman. Blanco was released from Florida prison and she was deported back to Colombia. So she lived where she lived, quietly in a comfortable home in a Medellin neighborhood. This neighborhood was described by some as the Bel Air of Colombia, an exclusive gated community complete with armed guards. On the night of September 3rd, 2012, Blanco died after being shot twice, once in the head and then one in the shoulder by a motorcyclist in Medellin, Colombia. She was shot at Gardizo Butcher Shop on the corner of 29th Street after having bought $150 worth of meat. So the middle-aged gunman, he climbed off the back of the motorbike outside of the shop. He entered, he pulled out a gun and shot Blanco 2 times before calmly walking back to his bike and disappearing into the city. So she was 69. So despite being shot in the head, Blanco was in many ways a survivor. So she endured the cocaine war. She eluded American authorities for years. She served her time in prison. She outlived Pablo Escobar, the cartels, and she ultimately died a free woman. You know, she was shot, but like she wasn't in prison when she died. Which is crazy. Like, if you think about it, all the things that she did, and she, like, walked out free. She wasn't given the death penalty. She wasn't given life sentences or even consecutive life sentences. So, I see what this person is saying about her being a survivor. That's basically the story of Griselda Blanco. She has a lot of movies made about her. So, she was in Cocaine Cowboys, which was in 2006. And then Cocaine Cowboys 2, which was in 2008, which it was like also called Cocaine Cowboys 2 Hustling with the Godmother. So y'all can check those out. Also, something exciting if you want to watch a movie. It has yet to be filmed, but it's like rumor on the streets. Is that how you say rumor on the streets? I guess. Word on the street. Okay. Word on the street is that It has this project has yet to be filmed, but it's going to be titled The Godmother. It is currently in production, starring Jennifer Lopez as Blanco, which she also plans to produce. So Jennifer is going to be starring in it, and she also plans to be producing it. Ooh, exciting. Then there's another movie that has Catherine Zeta-Jones. She portrayed Blanco in Cocaine Godmother. So it is a TV movie that was on Lifetime in 2018. That's some of little things that you can see about her. There's also many songs written about her, or like lyrics that have her in it. Like The Game has references to her. Little Kim created an alter ego, Kimmy Blanco, as a tribute to Blanco. NBA Youngboy referenced her in Slime Believe. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video and y'all know a little bit more about Griselda Blanco and who you are rapping to whenever y'all rap these lyrics. If y'all like to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you want to, and yeah.